Good morning and welcome to the Purdue Win TP3 Technology Workshop. This is the fourth, counting our conference, in a series of workshops that we're having over the fall, focusing on TP3 and this one is specifically focused in on technology. My name's Steve Dunlop. I'm the Managing Director for DeSemi and Giuseppe at Cranard, and we're just really happy and enthusiastic that you've been able to attend and see that we've got a great group of speakers that we're going to be introducing and having present this morning. This session is taped, so within the next week and a half or so, we will have that out, and we will be sending you, when it's up, we'll be sending all the attendees a list of where the tapes can be viewed. So please, if you're not able to see all of it or come to all of it, you'll be able to come through and pick up the tape piece of it, the recorded, or you can give it to your colleagues to come in and do. We are also entertaining questions. Please enter them in the chat box, and then we will pick those up throughout the session so that folks will be able to make it more personal and enjoyable from your perspective. Rather than doing a lot of delay, I'd like to introduce Roy Vasher. He's going to be our moderator for the day for all the various sessions, and he's going to take over, and we'll get this kicked off. Again, really glad you were able to attend, and have a great day.
Thanks, Steve. So it's good to be with everybody today. I think we have a very exciting outline here, a schedule of very interesting topics. We're going to start off with Angus talking about the TP3 overview. Then Tom from Novonix is going to talk about telepresence computing. We've got Bob from MPI that's going to talk about IIoT, AI, and manufacturing, a very interesting topic. And then the Mike from DPG is going to talk about how we use BSM to control infection disease. And then moving on with Diana from UVC Light talking about a new robotic solution for cleaning, and Bryce from Standard Industrial talking about how we're using IoT devices and sensors. And then Jane and Gabe will talk about no-code apps. And we'll wrap it up with Josh from GE. We'll talk about some exciting innovations with 3D printing. And then Dr. Annette Iyer will come on and close it up and talk about call to action. So just as Steve, a reminder is if you have questions, why don't you chat them to me, and I'll, at the end of each presentation, I will post a question. So if you can do that, I appreciate it. So why don't we move ahead with the slides. Okay, all right. As I said, my name is Roy Vash. I'll be moderating this, and I'd like to turn it over now to Angus to talk about TP3 strategy.
Thank you, Roy, and good morning to all of you. Very happy to be here today. Steve mentioned that about the DeSemi Center, which is really the Douch Center for Management and Manufacturing Enterprise. And so Steve, myself, Roy, and Anant Iyer, who you'll hear from later on in this workshop, are all part of that center. Now, we've been working with manufacturers to seek opportunities for advanced competitiveness for some time. And so the title of this short segment is Managing Competitiveness. And what we've learned and devised from all of those interactions and working with companies, we've popped into a book, and we've called it a TP3 strategy for managing competitiveness. So what is that? On this slide, you can see there's technology at the center. So there's the T. And that really is at the center of a framework with the 3 Ps around the outside of it. So we've got process there, we've got product there, and you'll see people there as well. So when we look at product, we're really thinking not just about products and adaptation in products, but also about the whole of the supply chain and the delivery from first base to the customer. We're also looking at people, and maybe we could click through all of this slide, could we? Thank you. We're looking at people, we're thinking about enabling the change and the communication. And we're really trying to, by enabling change, give people confidence to move forward. When we look at process, we're always thinking about management agility, the agility of the workforce to move in times of stress. And you see here that phrase infection control, which will be part of the presentations coming up later, around infection control because of the pandemic. The pandemic, if you like, was a stimulus for thinking about the management competitiveness and what we can do in a positivistic way to really encourage and leverage companies to move forward positively rather than getting too buried in the negativity around the pandemic. And we see that technology then is what we would say is the facilitating part, right at the center of that wheel of the 3 Ps for competitiveness. So if we look at manufacturing and technology, can we pop up the rest of that for me, please? Thank you. What we're proposing from the TP3 that we've produced, this technology, is really to say that it's a good time to re-examine technology, both in applications for various types of technology, whether it's software or hardware based, but also to think about what the costs of that is. And we're going to explain that a little later on. So we see that what we're saying is that it's becoming economically more feasible at lower volumes of production and activity to think about technology right now because of the pandemic and the changes that have happened. I'm going to say more about that in a moment. Also, can we stay on that slide? Can we go back? Thank you. So we also see that most, not all, but most of the technologies are scalable. In other words, we can take a technology, we can apply it in a pilot way in part of a plant, and we can gain confidence in having a success with that technology, and that would lead us to extend it out across the whole factory, for example. And the advantage of that is that, you know, success breeds success. We're, if you like, stimulating people to know what success is like, to build up their confidence and to scale up with technology, and not only just one technology, but then to move maybe to another project and more technology. And a lot of technologies now are reconfigurable, which means we could reprogram to make changes, which might be about time, it might be about other aspects that we can program into the technology. And most technologies now are very much linked up. Roy mentioned IoT. So where do we put our data? Where is our data going? We could keep it on local servers, which are completely separate from the cloud, or we could go right to the cloud and put our data there. So we have a lot of choice around technology. So next slide. Now, what this slide is about really is about the cost, and the top line there we're going to call, if you like, the cost of technology, that top horizontal line. And if you look at A, it gives an intersection for a given volume of production, and that slope where the intersect of A is down to the origin is the cost of labor before the pandemic hit. So what this is really saying is that the technology to the left of that point A would be overly expensive if you're thinking about the equivalence of the cost of technology compared to labor costs. But anything on the right-hand side of that technology you're thinking about buying at that volume would be affordable if you were thinking about replacing some human activity by machine or some other technology that would make for more efficiency on a plant. So the interesting thing, because after the pandemic and during the pandemic, the cost of labor and the overhead, including the overhead, of course, has gone up. And what is that overhead? The overhead is the PPE, for example. We've got more equipment in, we've got more sanitizing going on. So the overhead costs are a lot higher. What that does is it shifts the cost of labor up. And that means we get to the intersect B. And again, we're seeing that at much lower volumes, then it becomes economical to move to technology that we wouldn't perhaps have thought about using before that point. And then what the other thing that we're noticing with technology, generally in all technologies, whether it's big data or drones, all of these technologies are getting cheaper with time. And so C represents a lowering of the price, that lower horizontal line. And it means, again, that at any given volume, there is an added incentive for looking at technology. So next slide, please. So where is that money going? Well, some of it's going into things like cobots, where if we have a collaborative robot, which is what a cobot is, it can enable us, for example, to separate people more so that on a given line or a machine, it may be possible to have a cobot working that would mean we could take someone out of that and they're not proximal to other people. Cleaning robots, for example, we're going to be seeing those a little bit later on with Diana's talk. Things like sensor-based tracking alerts. This is again about infection control and maybe wearables, like a wristwatch, for example, using Bluetooth to alert people if they're closer than a certain distance, whether it's 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, or whatever. UV technology, I'm sorry, that's Diana's subject later on. I said cleaning robots actually should be talking about UV. Leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning also is in there. So really clever and algorithms for learning much more about trends and making predictions, whether it's to do with machine life or other predictions that we can make on the plant. Video analytics, another hot area, and we'll be looking at no-code apps a little bit later on as well. And that relates very much to video analytics, making it very, very cheap. Cameras and video cameras are already very cheap. And with these apps, we're able to process data and learn much more about where our people are, how separate they are, where product is, and where it's stored and how it's moving to keep inventory and know where it is. Augmented reality, very high user in terms of training, and virtual reality as well to assist operatives on the shop floor to be able to do more and to do it much more accurately. And of course, you know, things like software, remote learning, and other software that can be used by companies also is technology. So what we're trying to do really is to influence, if you like, success with these projects. Whatever level of technology you're familiar with, is to think about what's the next step and how that success will lead to more confidence in projects and encourage more growth of use of technology and empower the people to do more going forward. And with that, I'm going to pass this back to Roy. Thank you.